Hello, team, and welcome to today's episode of our live stream. We're very excited because we have a very special guest for you who is going to be talking all about the key to great magic. So let me introduce him for you here. We have Mr. Travis Askew. What's up, Travis?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good, good. And we have the old faithful Jeff over there. How we doing, Jeff?
Old faithful Jeff. I'm doing great. Glad everybody's here and good to see you all.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we are very excited. It was a crazy kind of high anticipation situation because everybody was pumped to hear about Travis last week, and then we had a little crazy circumstance, so we had to reschedule it for you guys because you don't want to miss this interview. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. So Travis, hey, welcome your first time on our live stream. Do you remember how we met? I was just curious.
I do. We met at 28. Well, I mean, I think event before that we met online, Instagram, but
Yeah.
we officially met at 2018 Tricks.
It was the Tricks, wasn't it? We keep coming back to Tricks convention. Of course, you're up in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And Tricks is a little more. No, it's closer. It's same elevation, I think, up from Texas, but you're out. We met on the East Coast at the Tricks convention. It's a great place. And then who just joined us? Who's that?
This is Gana. It's my cat.
Oh, kitty cat. I miss cats, but cool, man. So we have a few mutual friends, I guess, through Instagram and what like that. I was just trying to think. Last time I was hanging out with you, we Cash stopped by. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We were in Ohio.
Sean Wallace or Cash Magic on Instagram.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Like, how you guys been friends a long time?
We've been friends for a while, but we've gotten really close over the past few years.
Okay. Yeah.
He's more from my area.
Yeah. Both you guys just perform amazing, astonishing visual magic. That's what I think. I don't know if y'all rub off on each other.
Yeah.
But,
Tell everybody real quick, Travis, kind of what, because I've had the privilege of being able to see you up and close. But like, what if you could distill what you focus on for your magic? What's like the main type of magic that you would say you do?
Are you like cards, coins, rings? Stuff?
Yeah, I mean, however you want to describe it for somebody that doesn't know you, what would you say is the kind of magic you do?
I wouldn't even say specifically a genre of magic, just intimate close-up magic. The magic I like to do is actually for people in person, where it's just almost like a conversation is what I like personally. I've done shows, I've done Instagram stuff on Instagram, but definitely my favorite type of magic is doing it one-on-one in person, naturally occurring.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got some great stuff on Instagram. We have his Instagram banner ready or not, Caleb?
I'm gonna throw that up as we're talking. But yeah,
because there's some good stuff. You're gonna want to subscribe and follow. Check out what Travis has got, because just some amazing coin and ring type stuff and everything. So help me out a little bit. What motivates you with your magic, man? Like what gets you going and excited and stuff?
I mean, magic itself gets me excited about magic, but I really think that, when I'm really excited about something I'm working on, or I'm really getting into the flow, like for me, when I'm performing, some days, like, I don't feel the same way as I do other times. It really, I think, depends on the rapport you have with your audience and who you're talking with, who you're performing for. Also the state of, where you are as far as what kind of person you are that day, I guess, how much energy you have.
Well, that's interesting. So you see yourself like different on different days?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just me. I mean, not everyone's like that, but I definitely, there's some days like I'll just wake up in general and just not feel up to, doing something or just not feel the same. Generally, like it takes me a while. I'm not a morning person, so when I get up, it may take me a while to get my energy and get prepared for something.
I think most of the time when you are chatting about this and stuff that's upcoming, we'll talk about a little bit more later, but it's usually late at night, so you're definitely a night owl. That's for sure. I think that's something that, you hit on something that a lot of people miss, is because we always say, well, I go out and the crowd was hot tonight, or the crowd was cold, or, that table was great and this table was not. And we talk about these other people, but you nailed something right there. Like, we go out as performers, and some days we're in a different mood. We're in a different space, a different place.
Yeah, you could have family issues or things in the background that are kind of hindering the way you're performing. And also, one thing I heard, and just not just in performing, but in relationships, is that like if someone isn't really fond of what you're doing, if you're showing them a trick or something, it isn't necessarily about you or the magic you're doing. It just
Mm.
could be them, and maybe they've got things going on. That's why I personally love it when people come up to me. When you do a show, everyone's coming to see the magic. They're coming to you to see the magic. So like
Mhm.
in the intimate close up type of scene, it's better when people approach you because they're more in tune with seeing something incredible rather
Yeah.
than you just coming up randomly like, here's a trick. It's not
Yeah.
always going to work out the way you want it to.
And you
Yeah.
make a really good point. Let me jump in real quick and ask you something, Travis, because when we were talking about what you were going to chat on during this live stream today, you
Mm.
said that you believed a specific thing was the essential thing
Mm.
for good magic. The key, what we've been telling for the kind of like getting the hype about this, so everybody would come to this live stream. What would you say is that key for you? That key of good magic?
I think it's multifaceted. I think viewing magic is more of a conversation than just look at me, look at what I can do. Because when you have a fourth wall there where they're just watching you do something, it's not can't be as powerful. Because if you think about it, without the spectator, the magician is just juggling. Without the magician, the spectator isn't going to experience that today. Uh, that doesn't mean that a spectator without a magician can't experience magic in the everyday world, but that's saying that like if there's a cohesive situation, it's a symbiotic relationship, if you will. It's a conversation. Like you can't just pull you know reactions out of thin air. And I
Mm.
think that goes to why I like certain reactions better than others, rather than just like an applause or something, because you really know when someone really is astounded by an effect is when they're just silent, when they're just doing
Mhm.
what's called a transderivational search, where they're just like they have no conception, and it's
Say that
just
word again.
Whoa, what was that? Trans what?
transderivational search. It's like when they're kind of
Ah,
like what just happened, like they have no words, because
Yeah.
magic is the experience of magic is pre-linguistic. That's why
Yeah.
when you kiss someone for the first time, you can't describe how it feels because you don't have the words for it. It just that's what magic is. It doesn't have language to it. That's why we say if we don't know how something works, we say it's magic. you know?
Mhm.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that famous Arthur C. You guys know I'm a quote guy. That famous Arthur C. Clarke quote: "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic."
Love it.
Um, and
Yeah,
that's
the
you're totally
words
right. So
describe it.
this is very interesting, Travis. It sounds like you're like thinking way deeper than a lot of the stuff that a lot of magicians seem to talk about or think about. And it's really interesting. It's a cool perspective. It sounds like maybe conversation and connection are kinda like the main things. Is that kinda what you're talking about?
Yeah, there's got to be a rapport there. You have to have a rapport with your audience. Like if your audience doesn't like you as a person, they're not going to like your magic. I think speaking of
Mm.
quotes, there's an old quote that says, you know, the regardless of your religion, the devil can't come into your life and affect you unless you let him in, right?
Mm.
So they have to let you in to give them that experience. You can show someone a trick and they may not be ready for it at that moment, and it's just like you're performing for a wall, and there's no substance to it. Especially if you utilize what you're talking about or what you're connecting with into the magic. So if you're performing a trick and then someone starts, I've had it where I'm performing something, a card trick, I'm talking with someone, they want to see a trick, I start performing, and then they start talking about something that's unrelated to the trick. I will set the cards down and just listen to them and
Yeah.
keep on that conversation. They'll be like, "Oh, I didn't mean to, keep you from doing your trick, but that's what it's about, is the connection. So
Yeah.
if you're not going to connect with your audience and you're still going to shove this trick down their throat, it's not going to have as much powerful as an impact as you can using their own words, using their own, what they're talking about to your advantage. And if you don't even perform, if you don't even finish the trick and you just start going on a tangent and start connecting with them in general, like, yeah, you can perform magic for them later, but that's really the magic of the moment, It's not about necessarily, let me show you a trick, look at me, look how cool I am. It's about this, this is what it's.
Yeah, really, seriously. I mean, I think you're onto something there, because I mean, I go back to a religious phrase, and I'm not saying that magic tricks are necessarily this, but there's this idea of what is holy, what is sacred. And I'm not saying our tricks are necessarily like that, but they should be something that is set apart. And if somebody's just going to talk over you, I think you made the right choice in that situation to just set down the cards and engage with what's most important to them.
Right.
Because then you're being the empathetic person, you're being the listener, the active listener, and being caring, and hopefully that's not at a party situation where you're paid to perform or something like that, but that lets them know that they're valuable, and then maybe they'll be more interested in seeing what you have to offer. And I think what you have to offer is going to be mind numbing, because I've seen you perform. So, but it's like you created a rapport by saying, okay, you're important to me. And then they might say, oh, this guy probably he thinks I'm important, and maybe he has something important. And I think I just touch on one final thing, because you hit the nail on the head, like just approaching people, just cold calling. We may have talked about this before. I know, like a lot of us, when we saw David Blaine first come out, we just thought, oh, that's what we have to do, is go out and hit people in the streets and shove magic down the throat. Well, now David Blaine can do that any corner of the planet, because they see David Blaine as David Blaine. But we don't know, and not to knock his style, which his performance is brilliant. He does have a way of silently making rapport with people. We don't know how many people turned him down for that first TV special that didn't know who he was and said, get away from me. Like, we don't know all the backstory or what he might have done to warm those people up or those kind of things. We just see the trick and then the long exaggerated reaction. So I think what you're saying there is very important for us everyday folks that are going out there that aren't celebrities, that people don't know anything about us. Build rapport, because we didn't have a TV channel or TV special to build rapport for us. You got to go out there and do that dance to make those relationships.
So let me ask you too, Travis. So this is very interesting. It's almost like a style and an approach. And one of my first questions that comes up to this is like, what are the kind of reactions that you see? Like, have you always done this kind of approach to magic? And what are the reactions that you see with this more conversational give and take type approach, as opposed to just a kind of a performer that just kind of blasts the magic, you know what I mean? And kind of doesn't allow for that.
So, I mean, everyone has their phases in magic. I think every single person who started out in magic in one shape or another, experienced it in some way and was like, whoa, I want to do that. Whether it's they want to have, I think, at least for me, I mean, I remember, being a kid and going to the bookmobile and go to libraries and reading about witchcraft and mysteries, untold mysteries and vampires, werewolves, and all that stuff, because I just love the mystery of it all. Like what is there that we don't know about? Like, is magic real? And I think a part of all of us wants magic to be real. I also think a lot of us, in a way, we get some sort of satisfaction out of getting reactions and knowing something someone else doesn't know. At some point in our career, I think there's some people who just learn magic so they can pick up girls or whatever. And I think every one of us kind of goes through these phases, maybe not all of us, but there comes to a point when you realize that there's so much more. And you were talking about what's sacred and what's reverent. And I think there comes to a point when you have to look at magic as a point of like, I really respect this in the history and all of that with art, where if you depends on your intention. Like, what is your intention? Do you want to look cool? Well, that's going to bleed out into your performance, because people can pick up on those cues. Do you want, like if you're being creepy and trying to pick up girls or whatever, that's going to bleed out. If you really want to share something special with someone, something that you love, which is generally how I approach it. You know, it depends on your state, as we talked about earlier. But when you have that mindset, then you can really share something. And then you're not, you know, if someone asks you to do a trick and then you're not spending 5 hours, you know, at the party doing magic, you're actually just do one trick and then you connect with the rest of the time. You don't have to rely on magic to have that connection.
Yeah,
That's a good point. Yeah, and
really good point.
I want to flash up a question in a second, but I want to address one little point because you mentioned that you you perform your magic based on how you feel, if I'm understanding that right, in that particular day, which I think is very interesting because we don't hardly ever talk about that in the magic community. But the only other place I've ever seen that was, Travis, have you read The Magic Rainbow from Juan Tamariz?
That one's newer, isn't it? I haven't read that one though.
It's newly translated into English, and it's a big old book. If anyone hasn't, I mean, it's like a huge book. But I was reading through parts of it, and there's a part where Juan talks about that, like this idea of performing based on how you feel during the moment, not putting on a face, but instead going off of the real emotions. And I think there's something really interesting there to try to find that balance. If you're getting paid for a performance, you know, you have to there's a point where you have to perform to a certain level, but how do you inject that realism of who you are to create that connection Travis is talking about? I think that's really interesting.
Right. And I feel like there's always a context. And in the case I'm talking about mostly is the intimate close-up magic. So like if you're at a bar or, you know, at a coffee shop or you're just with some friends, that's where I feel is like really a great way to, you know, connect with people in general. But if you're talking about you're at a show or a performance, you know, you have to realize what the context is and how what your intent is. So like there may be a day when you have to, you know, go perform because that's how you make your money if you're a professional. And unfortunately, you don't have a choice of whether you can be on or off. You know what I mean? But in general, if I'm out, you know, at a coffee shop or I'm, you know, over and someone comes over and says, "Hey, can I see a trick?" And I'm really not in the mood to be sharing magic right now, I can say no. You don't have to be showing people a trick all the time. But if you want to, you can, you know. But I think there has to be an element of where they're inviting that in. You know, I think depends on whether you know the person or not. You can say, "Hey, I do magic and I'm practicing this thing for like 6 months. Could I show you something?" And they can either say yes or no. But like, you also have to look at how they're saying yes, because if there's like, maybe, like, yeah, you know, then judge on that case. But definitely, you don't really want to be showing some, you know, magic to a brick wall. You know, if someone really doesn't want to see it, don't show it to them because there's no reason for it. If they don't like magic, I've had friends who do not like magic. And I remember back in college, there was, you know, a coffee shop in the Bama Student Center. And there was one girl that I knew that, you know, I would show tricks and stuff in the morning, but she hated magic. And I would sometimes go and share magic and she would get mad. Not like she didn't like magic, but it frustrated her because she didn't understand it. And after a while, I stopped showing magic to her. But, you know, if she was around, I just didn't do anything because I don't want her to be uncomfortable because I'm doing magic, you know. So it's also understanding what your audience is. But one day she came up and she was like, "Travis, show me a trick." And I was like, "You don't like magic." And she says, "Yeah, I know, but I want to see a trick." So it really, you know, yeah.
She liked you though.
Is that yeah, I was gonna say maybe that's a function of just you're doing the kind of magic that you allowed her to warm up to it, you know?
Yeah, she warmed up to it.
Again, it's about, do they like you as a person? Because I know from my own experiences that, you know, I used to show magic all the time to people, and I guess sometimes I still worry about whether I come off that way, and that's why I'm very cognizant about it, is because I don't want people to see me as oh, that's Travis, that's a kid that does magic all the time. Because I want people to know me as Travis, who also does magic, not that's the magic kid, his name's Travis. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful.
I think that's wisdom. And I know some guys, there's guys out there that they want their identity to be, I'm the magician, I'm the shaman. And if that's them, that's great. But I hear that you're saying you want to go to the party and not be on all the time, not be working. It sounds like to me, you can be yourself. who
But
is happen to be a magician.
Yeah, I love doing it, but at the same time, it doesn't have to define how people view me. And it may, even so, even if I just do one trick one time, people may see, oh, this kid does magic. But at the end of the day, I would much rather, because there's way more to me than just magic. I like poetry, I like language, I like history, I like philosophy and psychology and photography. I think I might have said that already. But there's a lot of there's more things to me than just, that I do.
We got to get you on more live streams, man, because we got to let the people see what you're all about with your magic. Because I know they're probably wondering whatnot. So make sure y'all guys hit up his Instagram.
Yeah, I got it right here, actually.
Good stuff.
Put it across here.
Yeah. I got to keep going with this real quick because I know we're a little bit short on time. But Travis, I want to say something here. So this is next level work. A lot of the stuff you're describing. A lot of people aren't there. Caleb's picked up on it. I'm picking up on it. This is master's level work. This is not your 101. You're really working. Can you share some of do you mind open up a little bit some of your struggles about what got you here or where you've started to pick up on this stuff or why this is important to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So I've been doing magic a long time, since I was 5 years old. I mean, not like full time. I've been doing, not to the level I'm doing it now. But I think
your parents dropped up at the street corner with a shoebox and said, "Go make some money."
Full-time pro from birth.
So, I will have to say that it's just a time. When I was younger, I just liked magic. My grandparents, there were magicians who would come to the elementary school that I would be loving to see. We had this thing called First Night in Akron, Ohio, which is where I'm from, kind of the area where they'd have a magician every year. At they had performances, and I would go to see the magician. If we went on vacation, I'd go to the magic shop just because I loved it, everything about it. And I think over the years, it kept me on that path. Like, a magician would show up, or someone would buy me a magic trick for Christmas, or most of the magic I would get would be during Christmas or birthdays or something like that. So over the years, I started to get involved with magicians and things. And I know for a fact when I was in high school, 8th grade, I went to a new school, it was a public school, and I was doing magic all the time. In the cafeteria, I'd make cookies appear in my empty lunch sacks, and I would do tricks all the time, and I would be looking up magic tricks on the internet during those times when I had computer labs, and I was really starting to get into it, and almost to the point I was obsessive with it. I got magic lessons when I was 16, but I know for the fact during my high school years and even going into the beginning of my college years and stuff, I was definitely more into the aspect of look at me, look what I can do.
Yeah.
More like when I brought the magic out, everyone was around me, and then as soon as the tricks were gone, then people dispersed.
Yeah. So did that help you overcome anything, or was that there to brought people in? I mean,
it did. But for a while, when people would say, "Oh, it's the magic kid," for some reason that bothered me, and I think people would see me as just the kid that was looking for attention with magic. And that's why I'm so cognizant of it now. And I think my parents kind of also threw that fear in there, because they'd be like, well, you can't be doing magic all the time, put your toys away type thing. But I will mention this since we did talk about it, but I was diagnosed with Aspirin Syndrome when I was 13. So a lot of that defined, was forced to define me for a long time. And I don't really.
So that label was what? Oh, this is the kid that has this diagnosis.
Right. And when people found out about it, they view me differently. So that's why I don't really talk about that. But the DSM-5, took away Asperger's syndrome. So I'm cured. Yeah, it's not the DSM anymore. But so I've gone through these phases of, I want to get attention through magic. But as I started to realize, I started to think about it, and I was like, I don't like being labeled as the magic kid. I don't like I don't like labels. That's one thing that nowadays I don't like. I don't like to tell people I have any sort of condition, or because people don't know a lot of things. They don't know what that's about. They won't ask the questions. They just have preconceived notions of maybe someone they knew who might be on the spectrum or whatever. So
that label comes into your life. I mean, I don't think that feels good, is what I feel like when I get labeled.
But and I even noticed that even my own family kind of defined me by that, and I didn't like it. I don't like being defined by something. So I would much rather someone look at me as Travis, and if I have a quirk or something, then that's just Travis. It doesn't have to be anything other than that. And I think that's how you should look at almost anyone you meet. That's nothing because of whatever they have going on. It's just them.
Like you said, you started the interview with that. You said it just could be something going with them, and it's not about you.
It's not. It's most of the time it's not about you, or it's not about anything. Someone might be in a bad mood that day. You might be in a bad mood that day. That everyone's perception. That's what magic is in general. Is just perception. But I would study it. I was like, okay, well, when I've got the tricks and stuff and everyone's surrounding, I can banter with these people. I can do X, Y, Z. I can have fun and, be talking with this person. And then once the magic's gone, then that goes away. So what's the deal? How come I can do this here, but I don't feel like I can do it here? I think that also comes from an internal psychological thing where I was constantly told because of X, Y, Z, you can't do this. And regardless of whether that was intentional or not, I think it was more, sometimes you can't do these things, but you got to overcome that. It became kind of a thing that I had to work through. And we go a little bit over too, by the way. But I did want to say that after a long time of looking at what I was doing, I started to take a look at how I was, how I'd breathe, how I'd stand when I was performing or doing any magic. And I kind of was like, all right, great. Well, let's embody that without the coins, without the cards. So how do you, so it's kind of a weird thing where people say, well, you don't want to be your character. And I felt like more like myself when I did magic. So take away the magic and still be Travis. You know what I mean? So
Bro, I love that you've said that, because that's like, I feel like magic kind of gives us all like this little superpower, like where we feel like we could be a little bit somebody different or more of our real self, I guess.
Right.
Let me grab my coins here. Yes.
But we've mentioned before in past live streams, Ascanio talked about the best character is who you are when you're most relaxed, like at a party. Like that's the real you. Like be like that. And I think what you're saying here, Travis, is very valuable for everybody listening, is that you can be that person without the magic, and that will just help you to be more of who you actually are, which is like so much bigger than the coin tricks, right? That's awesome.
Yeah. And if you look at it that way, then why do you need the coins? The coins isn't necessary, or the magic isn't necessary. It's a supplementary. It's all a conversation anyway.
It's a tool.
Yeah,
tools are good. We need hammers. We need saws. We need tools.
I think that's why a lot of people go towards mentalism. I mean, one magician that's really changed, how I view magic in general is Jared Koff. Him and John Wilson, put out a tarot deck. But I went to a Jared Koff lecture back in 2019. And I didn't really care about the tarot that much. It's the Tarot de Marseille, Tarot de Marseille deck. But he really changed my view on it, because in the tarot, it's real magic because everything's happening. People have the answers that they're looking for, but when you read the cards, they see the answers for themselves.
You're talking about using the cards as a prop to let them basically turn into a therapy session, right? So they're able to get breadcrumbs off of clues you're dropping. Yeah, makes sense to me.
You have just like me. Like, it's not like I couldn't interact with people or whatever. I had that ability. It's just I had to find where that was. You have the answers most of the time that you're looking for.
And
You
you
just
may have been getting some labels that told you didn't have that ability. And so
right,
you have to grow up through that and fight through that pain and everything. I just want to say thank you for that, because most people don't know I have a son with special needs, and he gets labels put on him. And I'm having to be the dad to help him navigate that through life as he's still very young. And so I appreciate that so much, you opening up and sharing about that, because that's the real stuff that I see from a dad perspective. I don't see from your perspective. And I can't imagine the pain and whatnot, but I already see those tendencies to latch onto certain things for him to identify labels and try to escape. And we just tell him every day and every night that you are loved for who you are. You have a name, but that's a label. That's not who you are. You have disability, but that's another label. It's not who you are. That you're created in the image of God, and that you are loved just because of who you are. And so we tell that prayer and say that to him every single night, just to try to fight these misconceptions that we all had with whatever our limitations were as parents and as adults and friends. And man, I appreciate you speaking that. I think that's, like I said, it's master's level work that you're working through, Travis. So
Yeah,
just,
of course.
it's awesome.
So if I may, just in the last, we only got like one or two more minutes left. If I may, for all the viewers that are watching right now, please pay attention to this and understand that, as we said in some other live streams, this correlates. It's all of the stuff that's outside of the magic that makes your magic better, right? It's we need more of you specifically in the world, not a copycat of somebody else. We want you, and the magic can be your tool to share you and who you really are with the world, and grow as a person. That's what we're all kind of after here.
Yeah.
And so, Travis, just as we wrap up, is there any quick fire things people can think about immediately now that they've watched this, got this great knowledge from what you said? What can they do today maybe to start implementing this in the actual tricks that they already do? Is there a way that they can think about it or practice a little differently to start kind of moving towards conversational magic and more impact?
Well, I think you have to look at, what is it that you want out of this performance or whatever you're planning to do. It doesn't even have to be magic. Like, what do you want out of it? Like, what is your intention? And knowing your intention, know that that's going to bleed through. And if you maybe don't like the fact that this is your intention, like maybe it's a negative intention, like I want attention, or I want to, XYZ, whatever your intention is with it, understand what it is. And there's sometimes that if that's your intention with this magic, like if it's for attention or you just want, someone to notice you, these are all valid, reasons to do magic. But if you want your magic to have more impact and meaning, make it about them rather than you, because magic doesn't belong to the magician. My friend Cameron Braxton would say that all the time. Magic doesn't belong to the magician, but it also doesn't belong to the spectator either. It's a symbiotic relationship. So it has to kind of be, there has to be always a balance. So what's your intention? And if that's not the intention you're trying to bring to your magic or the conversation, then maybe leave. You don't have to be doing magic. You can, obviously this is for conversational purposes, not necessarily just,
Don't chase your customers away. That's what you're saying.
No, yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, you also do have to think about it. What is your intention for doing this show?
Yeah, you should. You really should.
You want to bring to it. And I think in your presentations and stuff, if you really have passion for what you're sharing, it'll bleed out anyway, regardless of whether it's in this type of setting or whether it's a show. Like, look at Derek Rogadio's show, like that. I think bringing who you are into your magic is just as important, rather than just doing banana bandana, some other, some other person's trick, right?
Don't know about banana bandana. Come on now.
It's a great trick, but what I'm saying is, like, there's nothing wrong. Just put your soul into that effect, rather than bring someone else's stuff, because then it won't feel like you, and they'll just see magician and not you.
Yeah. Well, on those lines, I don't want to cut the party short, but here's like I said. I know we're out of time, because I know, Travis, we got to be respectful to your day. But if you guys liked what Travis had to talk about, the reason we brought Travis on is twofold. One, we want to hear this amazing story, and I hope you guys pick up on it. And please share this with a friend that will benefit from this, like, next level thinking Travis has brought on. Follow him on Instagram for sure. We're on Instagram as well. Caleb manages that. But follow Travis. Ask you stay in touch with us there. And then we've got a project coming out that Rick Holcomb and Travis just recently filmed. And so we're going to bring Travis back on with some magic to show for sure. And if you like this line of thinking, as far as like next level, your magic is bigger than just your props, stay tuned for everything we produce at Copeland Coins, because we all buy into this philosophy in some way, shape, or form, that you are the magic. The magic is bigger than you. It doesn't just belong to you. I love the way that was said. And that said Cameron Braxton does Cameron. So we're going to talk to Cameron. I think he's in Houston area now. Maybe we'll bring him on live on the live stream. But yeah, just that whole philosophy that the props are there to help you. And that's what we give you, confident props to help you with but all of our teaching is there and on a deeper level. That's where we have the Dave system, and Travis just filmed a couple of Dave projects where he's going to be teaching you, have these extra ideas and notes in the lecture, and everything's going to break out for you so you can learn to perform on that next level. So I just want to say, from my standpoint, I'll be quiet here, but thank you, Travis, and Caleb, you have anything else to say, but thank you, Travis.
That's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next week. Go make beautiful magic.
Yes.